Let's dive right into this explainer. Listen, today we're undertaking a high-intensity grammar workout, and it's designed specifically to test your academic writing precision. Because, let's be real, whether you're drafting a massive master's thesis, writing a dense research paper, or putting together a critical analysis, subject-verb agreement is literally the foundational bedrock of your credibility. When your subjects and verbs don't match, your academic authority immediately takes a hit. Reviewers notice it. So we're going to look really closely at the tricky rules that trip up even the most advanced higher studies students.
Here's our quick syllabus for today. We're going to cover the core agreement rule, tricky connectors, the prepositional trap, pronouns and collectives, special cases, and finally, we'll wrap up with the final challenge.
Section 1. The core agreement rule, building the baseline. Before we get to the really advanced traps, we just have to quickly establish our baseline meaning.
Now, you already know the fundamental idea here. It's simple, right? A singular subject demands a singular verb, and a plural subject demands a plural verb. If you have I, we, you, or they, the present tense verb generally just stays in its base form. They run, we run. It seems incredibly basic when the sentences are this short, but honestly, this is the absolute foundation we have to build everything else upon.
Here's where the first minor complication pops up. Remember this crucial memory trick for the third-person singular. He, she, or it means you absolutely must add an S to the verb. So, he walked to school is a total no-go. It must be he walks to school. When a single entity is doing the action in the third person, that S is completely non-negotiable.
Moving on to Section 2, tricky connectors. This is where things start to get a bit messy. Let's see what happens when we start connecting multiple subjects.
Okay, here is your first real test. Imagine you're writing a complex report, and you construct this sentence. Either the teacher or the students blank late. Take a split second. Which verb actually fits here? Is it is or are?
If you guessed are, you absolutely nailed it. The correct sentence is, either the teacher or the students are late. Now let's explore exactly why that is, because it kind of goes against how we naturally lump things together in our heads.
It all comes down to the nearest subject rule. When you use connector words like or, nor, or but, you actually just ignore the first subject completely. The verb acts like a magnet. It only agrees with the subject that is physically closest to it in the sentence. In our example, students was closest to the verb, so the verb became plural, are. Now think about this. If the sentence was flipped to either the students or the teacher, the nearest subject would be the singular teacher, and the verb would magically change to is.
Contrast that with the word and. When two subjects are joined by and, it creates a plural subject, so you use the base verb walk. But, and pay attention here because this is a massive trap for academic writers, the words each or every act like a mathematical override. Even if you have a dozen nouns joined by and, slapping each or every at the front forces the entire compound subject right back into a singular form. Each boy and girl walks. It feels plural in your mind, but grammatically, strictly singular.
Section 3. The prepositional phrase trap. Don't get distracted. We are now focusing on the single most common pitfall in academic writing. This is where extra words literally camouflage the true subject. Here's your next test. The dog with puppies blank fast. Does it take run or runs? When we hear this, our brain instantly latches onto the word puppies, which is obviously plural, right?
Actually, the correct sentence uses runs. The dog with puppies runs fast. If you picked run, well, you fell straight into the prepositional trap, and your verb improperly agreed with puppies instead of the actual subject.
So here is your golden survival rule for academic papers. Physically cross out the prepositional phrases. Seriously, words that come after of, with, in, or along with are just extra descriptive baggage. They are never the true subject. If you chop out with puppies, you're left with the dog, which is a singular third-person subject demanding the singular verb runs. Always isolate your true subject before picking that verb.
Okay, Section 4, tricky pronouns and collectives. I like to call these the singular shapeshifters. We're tackling words that sound like massive groups of people, but grammatically act as a single solitary unit.
I want you to mentally screenshot these words right now. Indefinite pronouns like everyone, somebody, and nobody, plus collective nouns like family, team, class, and committee, they are almost always treated as singular. This trips up so many brilliant writers because, logically, a committee is made up of a dozen people.
But in the eyes of grammar, that committee acts as one single body.
Let's test it out in real time. Everyone blank to school. Does the word everyone take walk or walks? When you say everyone, you're picturing a huge crowd, right? Which makes you instinctively reach for a plural verb.
But everyone is a singular indefinite pronoun, no exceptions. Therefore, we have to tack on that third-person s to the verb. Everyone walks to school is the correct, precise academic construction.
Moving to Section 5, Special Cases and False Plurals. Nouns wearing a clever disguise. These are the tricksters that look like one thing but demand another.
What's really fascinating here is how the English language just loves to play tricks on us. There are special nouns ending in s, words like economics, mathematics, news, or even measles. Because they end in an s, your eye automatically reads them as plural, but they are actually singular concepts. You don't say the news are on TV, you say the news is on TV. In a paper, you'd write economics is difficult, not economics are difficult. And the exact same logic applies to measurements and gerunds. When measurements of time, money, weight, or distance act as one block unit, they take a singular verb. 10 pounds is enough, not are enough. Plus, gerunds, those ing action words acting as nouns, are always singular. Running is healthy. Even if you string a bunch of them into a really complex thought in your thesis, an ing subject by itself takes a singular verb.
Section 6. The Final Grammar Challenge. Putting it all together. We have officially reached the final boss level of our explainer today. We've navigated compound subjects, dodged prepositional distractions, and unmasked false plurals.
I highly recommend keeping a master summary table handy whenever you're writing. It beautifully distills all these complex rules into one clean checklist. Notice how it tracks everything we've just covered, how and makes a plural, how each forces a singular verb, how or relies on the nearest subject, and how prepositional phrases should just be completely ignored. Having this mental framework, that is exactly what separates average writing from exceptional, structurally flawless academic prose.
The overarching takeaway here is that mastering these agreement rules isn't just about passing some grammar quiz. For you, as higher studies students, it ensures your academic writing has crystal clear, undeniable meaning. When subjects and verbs agree perfectly, your reader isn't stumbling over the mechanics of your sentence. They're smoothly absorbing your complex ideas. It maintains the absolute structural integrity required for high-level professional communication.
So before you hit submit on your next major paper, thesis, or essay, I'm going to challenge you. Go back and ruthlessly audit your own work. Find your core subjects. Strip away those prepositional phrases. Check your tricky connectors. Are your subjects and verbs truly in harmony, or are hidden grammar traps quietly undermining your academic authority? Master these rules, and I promise you, your writing will be sharper, clearer, and infinitely more persuasive. Catch you next time.